If your parents are getting older, there is a conversation that becomes more important every year, and most families avoid it. Not because they do not care, but because it feels uncomfortable. Talking about aging, planning, and what happens later in life is not easy. But here is the reality. If you wait too long, you may be forced to make decisions in a crisis instead of making them together with clarity. Today, I want to walk you through how adult children can help their aging parents put the right plan in place before it becomes urgent. There comes a point in life where roles begin to shift. The people who once made every decision for you may begin to need your help, and that transition can feel unfamiliar for everyone involved. Parents often want to maintain independence. Children want to make sure everything is secure. The goal is not to take control. The goal is to support your parents while they still have the ability to make their own decisions, because that is when planning works best. One of the biggest mistakes that families make is waiting for something to go wrong, waiting for a health scare, waiting for memory issues, waiting until there is an emergency. At that point, everything becomes reactive. Decisions are rushed, stress is high, and options are limited. And in many cases, families are left trying to figure things out without clear guidance. Planning early changes that completely. Let's talk about what actually happens when there is no plan in place. If your parent becomes unable to make financial or medical decisions and there are no legal documents prepared, you may not have the authority to step in, even as their child. That means you may not be able to access accounts, pay bills, or make medical decisions on their behalf. At that point, families often have to go through the court to gain legal authority. This process going through the court can be time-consuming, expensive, and emotionally draining, and it often happens at the worst possible time. Now let's compare that to a family that plans early. The parents put key documents in place, a trust or a will to define how assets are handled, a power of attorney to allow someone to manage finances if needed, an advanced healthcare directive, and a medical agent to guide medical decisions. Now everything is clear. If something happens, the right person can step in immediately. There is no confusion, no delay, no court process, just a plan that works. This is one of the most important points that families often overlook. In order to create or update legal documents, your parent must have capacity. They need to understand what they are signing and what it means. If you wait too long and there are signs of cognitive decline, it may no longer be possible to put a valid plan in place without court intervention. And at that point, your options become much more limited. And that is where families often feel stuck. Now let's talk about why this conversation can be so difficult. For parents, it can feel like a loss of independence. For children, it can feel like stepping into a role that they are not ready for. There can be hesitation on both sides. But this conversation is not about control. It is about preparation. It is about making sure that your parents' wishes are clear while they still have the ability to express them. So how do you actually start? The key is to approach it with care and respect, not with pressure, not with urgency, but with intention. You might say, I want to make sure everything is in place, so we are not dealing with this in a crisis. Or you might say, I want to understand what you would want so we can make sure it is handled the right way. This shifts the conversation from something uncomfortable to something responsible. Once the conversation begins, the next step is understanding what is already in place. Some parents may already have documents, others may not. Either way, it is important to review their estate plan, their financial accounts, their property, how everything is titled, and how beneficiary designations are lined up, because even small details can have a major impact later. Another common issue is misalignment. A parent may have a trust, but their accounts are not connected to it properly, or they may have outdated documents that no longer reflect their situation. This is where professional guidance becomes critical, because having documents is not the same as having a plan that actually works. Let me give you a real type of scenario. An adult child notices their parent is starting to struggle struggle with managing finances. They hope that the situation improves, but over time it becomes clear that help is needed. Now they try to step in, but there are no documents in place, no documents that give them, the adult children, power of attorney over finances or medical. They cannot access documents. They cannot make decisions. Now they are forced into a court process just to gain authority. Compare that to a family that starts early. They have the conversation, they put documents in place, they create a clear structure. Now, when help is needed, everything is already set up. There's no confusion, no delay, no stress. Beyond legal documents, there are two practical things that make a big difference. What accounts are there? Who has access to them? And how do they have access? Where are important documents stored? What are your parents' preferences for medical care? These details may seem small, but they create clarity, and clarity reduces stress when it matters most. It is important to remember that this is still your parents' plan. They should be the ones making the decisions. Your role is to guide, to support, and to help them understand their options. When parents feel respected and involved, they are much more open to planning. If you find yourself in this situation, here are a few questions to ask yourself. Do your parents have a financial power of attorney? Do they have a healthcare directive? Do they have a medical power of attorney? Is their estate plan up to date? And have you had a conversation about what they actually want? Because without that clarity, families are often left guessing. If you're thinking about helping your parents, this is the right time to take action. At Allenby Law, we work with families every day to help aging parents and their adult children create clear, structured plans. We guide the conversations, simplify the process, and make sure everything is aligned with your family's goals. If you would like help reviewing your parents' plan and starting the process, you can reach out to us for a consultation. Because the best time to plan is not when something goes wrong, it is before. When you have clarity, when decisions can be made together, and when everything can be done the right way. And if you found this helpful, follow along for more insights on how to protect your family and your future.